Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
Minister of Health Dr. Dwayne Sands remaining tight-lipped on the future of national health insurance.
The Attorney General defends the Prime Minister in the Senate.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, Xiao Tai Fook Enterprises Limited announced today it has completed the acquisition of Baha. CTFE and its affiliates are now the sole owner of Baha. Baha has received its permanent certificate of occupancy. CTFE announced its agreement to purchase Baha from Perfect Luck Investments Limited in December 2016 and committed at that time to the successful and timely phased opening and operation of Baha. Today is the culmination of our efforts to purchase and open this spectacular resort destination, said Graham Davis, president of Baha. He added, "We have exciting plans and I am immensely proud of the progress our team has made over the last year." Baha currently employs 3,500 Bahamians. In other news, Attorney General Carl Bethel insisted today that Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis did not see a document transferring part of Environment Minister Ramal Ferreira's portfolio to him before it was gazetted. This despite the fact that such an official gazette can only be directed by the Prime Minister. Bethel went head-to-head with PLP Senator Fred Mitchell over the issue in the upper chambers today. Georgia Bain reports.
The Attorney General defends the Prime Minister's fake news comments in the Senate this morning, but Senator Fred Mitchell feels much different.
But here's a man who's attacking us now, right? Attacking us, the Honorable Prime Minister. But, yes, he did. Yes, he did. Merciless. Say it's our fault. It's our fault. And so we are bound to defend it, you know. And the point is this. We could have made much more over something that was gazetted, actually gazetted. A whole half of a portfolio was transferred from one minister to the next, and he couldn't remember that it was done.
This was the comment that started it all. Attorney General Carl Bethel rose to his feet to defend Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, asserting there was an error in the Cabinet Office and the Prime Minister did not approve the Gazette before it was printed and subsequently sent around on social media.
An error was made in the Cabinet Office in complying with those instructions. And that document somehow made it into the public sphere before he had even seen it. Had he seen it, he would immediately have known that this was an error as an official document. But it was presented to him as a document floating around on the web, which he dismissed as fake news.
The document dated August 22, 2017, revealed that 7 portfolio responsibilities were transferred from the Environment Minister, Ramal Ferreira, to the Prime Minister. Shortly after it surfaced, the PM dismissed it as fake news. However, it was later verified as an official gazette that can only be directed by the Prime Minister. Bethel urged Mitchell not to make a mountain out of a mistake and insisted that had Minnis been shown the document beforehand, none of this would have happened.
He would then have said, no. All I want is best commission or to be transferred. So take all of that other stuff out and leave that with Minister Ferreira. That is what happened. So he was merely responding off the cuff to what appeared to have been something that he knew. He never gave no order for that to happen.
Ferreira, who was silent on the issue for weeks, said yesterday the matter has been sorted out to his satisfaction.
The record on this is clear. The intention that of the Prime Minister was to restore the best commission and the best commission only to its proper place where it had originally been for years, which was under the portfolio of the Office of the Prime Minister. And that is because of the very close tie-in between the Best Commission and Bahamas Investment Authority, particularly with any investments, and it was designed to be this way, that could have an environmental impact.
Reporting for our News, I'm Georgia Bain.
Former Minister of Legal Affairs Damien Gomez says Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis was talking hogwash when he asserted in Parliament yesterday that the Christie administration neglected the financial services industry and its lackluster performance nearly landed the Bahamas on the European Union's blacklist. Gomez reminded Minnis that it was an F&M administration that caused the country's #2 industry great embarrassment. Vonnie 2 reports.
That's hogwash. Former Minister of State for Legal Affairs Damian Gomez says he finds it remarkable that the Prime Minister would slam the Christie administration's performance in the financial services sector when it was the PLP that inherited the mess left behind by an embarrassing 2,000 blacklisting under a Free National Movement government.
This country faced more dangers of being blacklisted by things that we inherited.
Dr. Hubert Minnis suggested yesterday that the former government's lackluster and late again approach to dealing with a very important part of the economy almost led to the country being blacklisted, adding a previous F&M administration had to prevent a similar situation. However, Gomez urged Minnis to stop deflecting and check the facts.
As I recall it, it was the government of Mr. Ingram that failed to take on board within a quick enough time amendments to our law that caused us to be on the blacklist in the first instance. And it was after much work and embarrassment afterwards that we got off the blacklist. I mean, that's history. Those are the facts.
In 2000, the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF, placed the Bahamas on a damaging blacklist of non-compliant countries for allegedly having weaknesses in its financial services regulatory regime that could facilitate money laundering. On Tuesday, the country avoided the European Union's December 2017 blacklist. However, the Prime Minister insisted the Bahamas' financial services industry has been under threat for some time, adding some of the Minnis administration's worst fears were realized when it found the sector in deeper trouble than anticipated due to the PLP's negligence. However, Gomez says the former government spent a good amount of time ensuring the country stood on the right side of international bodies.
I think that we did a commendable job, and given the international climate in which we were operating, we did very well.
Reporting for our News, I'm Vonique Toot.
Dead on arrival at the hands of a physician is how Angleton MP Glennis Hannah Martin describes the Minnis administration as it nears its 7th month in office. As the Prime Minister hosts a town hall meeting to address over-the-hill communities tonight, the Angleton MP says she's watched the Prime Minister backtrack on promise after promise for these communities and wonders if there was really a plan to better the lives of those who live there.
The flyer was very specific, that it referred to 3 communities and did not include Angleton, which is always historically being designated over the hill.
On the campaign trail, the Free National Movement made a list of promises to over-the-hill communities, from free Wi-Fi hotspots to tax-free zones. The Prime Minister's town hall meeting is aimed at addressing the revitalization of the over-the-hill community of New Providence, but only speaking to 3 constituencies: Centerville, Bain and Grantstown, and St. Barnabas, all seats held by the F&M.
But what I don't understand is, why would you not include Angleton? It is the only constituency represented by a Progressive Liberal Party member. I'm the only one that has a seat in New Providence, and I cannot understand why they saw fit. And the reason I don't think it's an error is because the Prime Minister announced before, during the budget debate, that they would roll out wireless in inner city communities, and he did not include Angleton.
So is it all just politics, and do the people of Angleton have the same issues as those in the other communities described as over the hill? On Monday, Prime Minister Minnis said people in these communities will have to wait for these tax-free zones as promised during the campaign. But Hannah Martin says she sees this as more than just a delay and more like backtracking.
You know, they said they're going to roll out a white paper, so maybe they're doing it now. I don't know. But we do know that there were a lot of things said during the campaign which were stated for their currency and during an electoral process or season, which have not panned out, which have been abandoned, which are not priorities, etc. And so I think it's a legitimate question to see whether, in fact, this was an actual program that was very seriously committed to. Because I think if it was, you probably would have seen it rolled out by now.
The Free National Movement has been in government for about 7 months now. So far, according to Hannah Martin, there have been a lot of blunders.
I'm very concerned about where we are and what is happening. I don't remember ever feeling this way in the Bahamas before with a new government, no matter what side.
Following the Bahamas being spared from being blacklisted by the European Union on Tuesday, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis chided the former Christie administration over its lackluster performance regarding the financial services sector in a press release. Today, Senator Fred Mitchell defended the Progressive Liberal Party.
Yesterday, you call the House of Assembly together, right? Everybody's calm and collected. The Minister for Financial Services is either the mover or the seconder. The Minister of Finance is either the mover or seconder. They mention nothing about the PLP having a problem with this and so on and so forth, right? So while we are all glad-handing one another in the House and saying nice things to one another, right, out comes this press release, which is an absolute stab in the back. Says you fellas are the fault. That's the reason.
According to Mitchell, the PLP did everything they were requested to do by the EU.
The Progressive Liberal Party did everything which was required to make sure that we are here today. In the sense, not in the sense of the timing, but in the sense of everything which the sector said was required, everything that our international, and I love this expression, partners say that they want, we've done. But, you know, it's a very heavy-handed one-way partnership, I can tell you, because this is like a gun to your head. You can't say no.
Minister of Health Dr. Dwayne Sands is remaining tight-lipped on the future of national health insurance. The controversial program that was initially introduced by the Christie administration is still without a funding mechanism. Jared Higgs reports.
It remains unclear how the National Health Insurance Program will be paid for, but the reality is it's yet to be determined how the program will look. Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands isn't rushing to give answers either. He says he set a deadline for the end of this month, and he's sticking to it.
I had made a commitment that by the end of the year, we would foreshadow the appearance of national health insurance. And so the NHI board and the NHI executive are working aggressively to meet that minister-imposed deadline. So the short answer is wait and see.
NHI was a cornerstone of the PLP's 2017 election campaign. Now, Sands says the Bahamian people did not get value for money when the Christie administration spent millions of dollars on foreign consultants. For his part, Sands says the buck will stop with the current consultants, KPMG, who themselves were paid $8.3 million over the course of just over a year.
We believe that armed with the information that has been gathered and paid for by the treasure of the Bahamian people, that we have more than enough consultancy material on which Bahamians can now chart the course moving forward. I believe that we have the talent in this country, we have the expertise in this country, and we have the experience to figure out how healthcare should look in the Bahamas. And so, except for specific technical issues, I don't imagine that there's going to be much of a need for any further consultation on NHI, certainly not from foreign entities.
Last week, Sands told the Nassau Guardian that while KPMG has done a significant amount of work developing NHI, the new NHI advisory board would be able to get the job done. Sands says it's key that he and those board members are on the same page.
I want to make sure that when a message is given to the Bahamian public, that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. That it's not the minister saying one thing, the chairman of the board saying something else, the managing director of NHI saying something totally different. That can't work.
According to NHI Bahamas' website, 27,000 Bahamians have enrolled in the program and are eligible to access primary care services with no cost at point of care. Reporting for our news, I'm Jared Higgs.
Still to come on our news, expressions of interest pour in for the new Providence landfill. Stay with us.